Alright, so it's been a few days now since the elections in the Netherlands. These were snap elections held on November the 22nd. And although I don't always cover European elections, I usually focus on Germany on this channel. I did make a video a few months back when the government collapsed and the snap elections were held. So I decided I wanted to give a kind of overview of these results because it was an important election and a big surprise with the victory for Geert Wilders of the right-wing Party for Freedom. So I want to take an overview and a look at the results. So we have right here, as you can see, the different parties. Dutch politics is very fragmented. There are a lot more parties than in pretty much any other European country. And the way it is for the Dutch parliament, you have to get 0.67, basically a less than you have to get enough votes to win one seat to win one seat. There is no threshold. And so, as you can see, the smallest party got 0.7%. They were able to win one seat. And that is why you have over 10 parties usually every time with seats inside the Dutch Tweede Kamer, the Dutch parliament. And this election was very interesting. So what had happened was basically the liberal center right government. It's framed in different ways, but the government from Mark Rutte of the VVD collapsed. There was a debate and discussion on migration within the coalition, and some of the parties disagreed on how to handle that issue. And so Mark Rutte, which had been in politics as the Prime Minister of the Netherlands for over a decade, resigned not only from party leadership, from prime minister, from politics in general, and he was replaced by their current leader now. And so these elections were held on the 22nd of November. And if we look at the opinion polls, we can see how just fragmented and rapidly changing Dutch politics is. At the very beginning, the VVD was very strong, and they were basically the largest party in the Netherlands for the past several years. They've won the past elections in 2021, in 2017, and in 2012, and in between there has been different parties that have managed to rise. In 2019, in the regional elections, the right-wing Forum for Democracy won outright, but they since collapsed. And also in 2021 at the regional elections, the Farmer Citizen Movement, which is here seen in the light green, rose to the largest party in the Netherlands. They became the largest party in the Senate and each of the state legislatures at those regional elections, but have since collapsed. And if we see here, in the last 2 months of the election, we see basically five different political parties vying for first place. So initially, it was the Farmer Citizen Movement, then the VVD kind of took first place again. Then the left wing alliance came first place, and this was because the traditional Labour Party, Social Democrats of the Netherlands, the PVDA, merged with the GL, the Green League, and this created a unified center-left bloc, and it was led by Timmermans, who was a former EU commissioner, vice president of the commission, and also was in the commission for climate policy, environmental policy, so someone that's very familiar with the European Union. And of course, the Netherlands is a core EU member, and so he was definitely a strong candidate for them, and they vied for first place. And we're polling as the largest party in many of these polls. Then you have the new social contract seen in yellow. This is a party of Peter Omtzigt, and that is a splinter party from the CDA. The CDA was Netherlands' traditional center-right conservative party, similar to the CDU in Germany. It has since collapsed in support, and Omtzigt represents the more Eurosceptic wing of the party. He split off and founded his party, and this took not only a lot of support from the CDA, but from the BBB, the Farmer Citizen Movement, and we can see that his party initially was polling as the largest, but quickly collapsed. And right at the end, basically the last month before the election, even the past couple weeks, the Party for Freedom under Geert Wilders, which has basically been in Dutch politics for a long time, he's been here over a decade, and his party has been constantly in the opposition. In 2017, it was thought that his party might win enough support to get into a coalition government. He focuses a lot on the critical of the European Union and migration issues, and that was the talk of 2017. But he did not manage to achieve that then. But at this election, what had happened was basically the migration issue came to the forefront once again, and in the past couple of weeks, the Party for Freedom rose in the polls, and even in the end, they were polling at about 18%. They were expected to maybe tie with one of the other parties for first place or second place, but as we can see, it wasn't even close. The PVV outperformed their polling by around 4 or 5 points and got 23.5%. Now, what's important to note is this is more than Mark Rutte's VVD got in 2021 and in 2017. And the interesting thing to note is many people, many political scientists and journalists in the Netherlands were saying that this was going to be a close election and that no party had a shot at winning over 20%. But the party for Geert Wilders was able to do that clearly. So this is definitely a shift to the right for the Netherlands. And we see the parties of the current government, or what was the incumbent government, all suffered losses. So if we take a look at this chart, this shows you the different gains based on this and losses based on the seats for each of the parties. So the green, of course, gain, red being lost. We see the largest gains are for the PVV, which gained 20 seats, and also the NSC, the new social contract, that is the splinter from the CDA. And of course, they were able to gain 20 seats because they were a new party. They were not contesting the elections last time. Also, the merged alliance between the Green League and the Workers' Party, the Labour Party, managed to gain some support. But we see the VVD, D66, the CDA, and the CU. These four parties, which were some of them center, some of them center-right, liberal parties, liberal conservative parties, all lost support. D66 lost a staggering amount of support. The Party for Freedom and Democracy, the VVD, was also suffered a hit. The CDA suffered huge losses as well, and the CU suffered minor losses. But regardless, this was definitely losses that were going to prevent this coalition from retaining the majority. There was pretty much no chance in any of the polling that they were going to overcome the deficit they needed to, win this election. And so this was definitely a shock in regards to the result of the PVV, but it was expected that the incumbent government would lose big, and they did. Now, the important question is how are the coalition talks going to work? Now, there are a number of options. Of course, the Party for Freedom is controversial. It is a more right-wing populist party, not as demonized as maybe the AFD is in Germany, because Dutch society is a lot different in that regard than German society, but they are still considered a party outside the mainstream on the right. And for the time being, and in the past, the conservative and liberal parties have refused to work with them. Geert Wilders is known for his hard line on immigration, but also Islam in the Netherlands. And so it's going to be difficult anyway to form a coalition, but there are a number of options. And the first option is the Party for Freedom of Geert Wilders forming a coalition, Geert Wilders becoming prime minister, and it includes the People's Party for Freedom and Democracy and the new social contract. The Dutch parliament has 150 seats, meaning 76 to win, and these three parties together would have a majority. But there's potentially that, there's a potential that maybe the new social contract or the Party for Freedom and Democracy does not want to work with them. Then Geert Wilders would have to cobble together one of those parties, and then a collection of the remaining parties that are kind of center-right. So the CDA, the Farmer Citizen Movement, the Forum for Democracy is aligned closely to the PVV. They have a lot in common, but this party is also very controversial, and I doubt that some of the more liberal conservative ones are going to work with them. And so pretty much that is the likely scenario for Wilders. However, it's not certain that these parties are willing to work with him and support him as prime minister. Another coalition would be a kind of broad, a grand coalition, potentially between the Labour Party and the People's Party for Freedom and Democracy. The Netherlands is a country where this can happen, just like in Germany. But even then, that is well below what they need. Even if you combine the second, third, and fourth largest parties, they're only at 69 seats. That is still 7 short of a majority. They would have to conclude D66. Now, here's the problem. The new social contract is the conservative wing of the CDA. And so a coalition between the CDA, the People's Party for Freedom and Democracy, the CU, and D66 already collapsed. So it's very unlikely that a new coalition of these same parties that's even more fragmented is really going to work. So I don't know what exactly is going to happen. I think this is a very unpredictable outcome. No one really expected this to happen, and it is very possible that we could see snap elections. We could see that there's no coalition that be formed, and the Netherlands will have to hold new elections. That's not totally unprecedented, but overall, there's multiple things that can happen. But regardless, as we can see, even Geert Wilders winning much more than expected. Only the largest party is at only 23% with 37 seats. You basically need, without the largest party, you need at least 4 parties to form a coalition, and that's going to be hard. But we will see what happens in the future. This has definitely been a shock election for the Netherlands and for all of Europe. A victory for the PVV is symbolic as a victory for the parties that are aligned to him. The PVV is in the same European parliamentary group as the AFD in Germany, or Marine Le Pen's National Rally in France. And also, the left wing parties were able to win some support. They had collapsed in 2017, and so they are now the second largest party, again, of course, with the Greens, but regardless, they were able to make some gains. This is, I mean, a historic election because, the CDA, which the Christian Democratic Appeal, had been one of the major parties in the Netherlands for a long time, and they are basically nowhere at only 3%. The party of the incumbent prime minister is at third place. So interesting developments, but this, could mean nothing. We could have to have new elections, and as we saw with the polling, you have 5 different parties polling as the largest, within a few months. So even if there's another election in the Netherlands, it could be unpredictable. Another party could win, and so that's just Dutch politics for you. But regardless, I wanted to give you all an update of what happened, an overview of the numbers and the parties and what might happen for a possible coalition. But that'll be it for this video, and I'll do some more videos shortly about Germany and opinion polling. There isn't any German elections coming up too soon, so but there is some interesting polls out, and we'll have to take a look at those. So I thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and please like, share, and subscribe.